So when a lot of people start making their cards, they use these ones, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having this as your card, like, it looks fine. But I, myself, try to stay away from that, and I use a blank one, because I feel like those are very limiting, especially if you know what you're doing when you're making your card. So, your card is for your account, so it's always going to pretty much be viewed in mobile. I always change my view, how you see it, into mobile over here. I normally add all of my elements and format it in the desktop, just because it's a lot easier to get things. Like, a lot of my cards have, like, the blinkies that I have, I take from Tumblr, and it's a lot easier, and the pictures are normally a lot higher quality. And so for this, basically you have your background, and it can change from a lot of different things. You have these, and I normally either use image or color. Right now mine has the image because it's got the stars and stuff, but I also use color a lot. And then you have your page, which this is how you can choose for it to be a box, just to be nothing, to be these things. So for the box thing, you can click that. One thing I like to do a lot is add the borders. They're down here. And a trick that I've learned is if you make your border a specific color, you can then, so there's this border, and you can make it however wide you want. Like, you can make it that wide, but I normally stick mine to a 2 or 3, and you can change it to be whatever kind of style you want. And then what you can do is take your drop shadow, make it the same color as your main page, and then make the distance 0, make the blur 0, and make the size however much you want, and then click out, and that's how you get that kind of look, like that. It's got a border, but not necessarily. You can also make your border the same color as your background, and it'll look like that. Most of my cards have this style. Nice little outline. You can make it into a gradient or a color or nothing. So yeah, that's how you make your box. While you're on this page, if you have multiple elements, so let's say you have a picture with this, and you want these to be really close, or you have multiple pictures and you want them to be close. So you see how they're kind of far apart. You can do this in a container, or you can do it just on the regular page. So if you click on the page, you can edit a lot of things. There's the padding area, which will change the size of your box, and there's vertical and horizontal. And then there's also the content in it. You can make it all go a specific direction, so you can make it all align left, center, or right. But then also you can do your spacing differently. So if you want them to be really close or really far apart, you can do that. So another thing I use a lot when I'm making my cards, like I said, is a container. And a lot of people have absolutely no clue how to use these. I always use them as columns, and a lot of people are confused because they'll make them into the columns and it won't be sideways. So for example, in my current card, I have images next to pictures, and a lot of people don't know how to do that. So for making them next to each other, you go into the appearance section of your container, scroll all the way down to where it says mobile, and then you click this from auto to manual. You go into this layout where it says stack, and you click on it, and it'll be on stack. It should be on default, and when you click it to default, it'll end up being right next to each other. And then another thing is the padding around these containers normally is a lot, and you really don't need that much. So what I normally do is I take my gutters and I make them about that much, and then I take my padding on horizontal and vertical and make them about that much, because you really don't need that much, and it's going to be really difficult to make your things sized nicely. You can change the spacing for images in the main page, you can also do that per container you have. So like if you want everything to be really close to each other in one container, but not necessarily in the whole page, just do the custom spacing here instead of that. You can also change the background to a color or a gradient or an image. You can also change the alignment, and you can see in mobile these two are the same size, but if you look closely, there's a little bit of space between each side, and that is why I use a mixture of like desktop and mobile, because desktop's sizing is normally a little bit off. Another thing that I found out by myself was how to use controls. If you do a default one, I think it comes with these, but you can also make them yourself. So basically what this does is adds a new page to your card. You have to add a name to it down here, but it probably should be something that you can copy because you're going to be using it to make buttons. So on my card, I have my little things, and I have my buttons, which is this, has a link URL, and the link URL goes to whatever whatever the control is. Just a side note, when you're making linked text, or when you're making any text, it shows you a little like cheat sheet down here, how to make different, like how to make things bold or italic or bold italic or underlined. You can basically do any of these and it will like do specific things. So card accepts specific URL types, and one of them is the section. So you see how it says section name. Basically, you can take any control area and name it whatever you want, and then you can link it through either an image, a link, or text. So if we have that, then we can go from page to page. That's basically how you make like buttons and stuff. So yeah. For audio, you can use SoundCloud and Bandcamp, but Bandcamp is a lot more mobile friendly because it doesn't require you to open like an app. So on my current one, I have a Spiral Advance linked through Bandcamp. On cards that have SoundCloud, if you're opening it on your mobile device, then you have to open SoundCloud with it, otherwise, or like open an external link. Whereas Bandcamp, you can just click on it, and it plays it within the Safari page that you're on. So for the mobile use of card, a lot of people have trouble accessing the page, because if you're just clicking on like where the page would normally be in mobile, it's not going to work. You're going to click the little page looking icon up here, and that'll get you being able to change your box and all that fun stuff that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Same goes for the background. When you click on the background like you would in mobile, it doesn't work, so you have to click this thing up here. One thing I got on my questions was how to make an image or text stay at the top or bottom while still having stuff move, like you can navigate through. So what you're going to do for that is go into control, and instead of having the type be a section break, you're going to have it either be a header marker or a footer marker. What I've done is use a header marker to keep the text, this is on the top, always on the top, no matter where you are. And I did this, just, it looks like this, basically. This goes to this control, which is this page, and this goes back to the home. You can also do that with a footer, if I made this into a footer marker, and then put it on the bottom, and put the text underneath it, and then published it. The same thing would happen, but the text would be on the bottom. And yeah, that's basically it. That's all the stuff that I got requests for. And if I didn't cover something that you wanted to know about, just DM me and I can probably help you. I'm not the card expert, but I know the ins and outs of it pretty well since I've been using it for such a long time, and I would be happy to help you. Yeah, thanks.